Welcome to the Thursday, June 13th, 2019 edition of the Clemson Dubcast. I got to say, it's a weird feeling. 50 weeks of the year, I usually write something every day. The last 2 weeks, been taking a little time off, and that's meant that Paul Strelo has really shouldered the load. Swinney Camp Insider 12, I think that is. I'm not a good Roman numeral reader, but I'm pretty sure it's the 12th one up on TigerIllustrated.com. Paul doing a wonderful job, as always. Father's Day coming up. Thanks to some of y'all who have ordered copies of the Dabo's Dynasty book for your Father's Day gifts. You can get autographed copies of that one, plus the other three we've written at ClemsonFootballBooks.com. Title sponsor of the Clemson Dubcast, Parham Smith Archenhold Law Firm in downtown Greenville. They have been with us from the very beginning. Blake Smith has been a good friend of mine for years, dating back to the days when he taught a law class at Clemson with Terry Don Phillips. Also, Brooke Archenhold, major Clemson fans. The forte of their firm, which is at 15 Washington Park in Greenville, is medical negligence. They represent patients and their families in medical negligence actions. Also handle all sorts of other personal injury litigation. Free consultations, Parham Smith and Archenhold. Give them a call, 864-990-4581, or go to parhamlaw.com. A warm welcome to the newest supporter of the Clemson Dubcast and winner of the Clemson Area Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year Award, Founders Federal Credit Union. If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers, and all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership, as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Membership at Founders has many benefits: great rates on loans and savings products, advice on investments and insurance products, and even a Clemson debit card available for any Founders member with a checking account. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA. If you're in Clemson, stop by and see Matt and his staff, 680 Old Greenville Highway, Suite 300, right next to the Walmart Neighborhood Market. Okay, our interview with Tommy Bowden. A lot to catch up on. Talked to Tommy earlier this week by phone from his home in Destin. Apologies, his reception was not very good. He told me he went to the part of the house where the reception was best, but still there are some points of this that are kind of indecipherable, so again, apologies for that. All right, here we go. Enjoy. Joined by Tommy Bowden. Man, it's been a long time, Coach. I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, well, Larry, I've come up with several people from Clemson. You haven't been one of them. But
Really?
Glad to touch base with you. You hadn't called or anything. But, good talking to you.
Well, last fall, I sat down with Brett Jensen, and he told me that you and he had developed a little relationship, so I figured if he can rekindle a relationship with you, then I can too.
Yeah, I've talked to him a couple times, and I know he's doing some stuff in Charlotte. And then I did that show in Charlotte for several years, and we never got to hook up. It's just kind of a short trip for me. I'd fly in Fridays, meet with producers. Show was Saturday, and fly out Saturday after the show. So we never got to hook up, but always enjoyed Brent.
Are you going to continue doing that this season?
ESPN took over that show. That show is no longer. ESPN took it over, and I have not heard. I'm pretty sure that the job I would have had I continued doing it. I think Mark Rick is now going to take that. So I don't think I'll be doing that. I know that show is no more, and ESPN's taking it over, and I haven't heard from ESPN, so that's usually not a good sign.
With the ACC network and all that?
Yeah, that ESPN, ACC, whatever that brotherhood is, they kind of hooked up with it's kind of different from what I was doing with the Raycom, and that the ACC. But so I enjoyed it. I know they had been associated with the ACC for a long time, football, basketball, other sports, but they really did a good job in the first-class operation.
Let's cover, most importantly, your family. How's your wife Linda doing? How are your children doing, Ryan and Lauren?
Yeah, they're doing good. When I left Clemson, we moved to the beach. I built a house on the beach. That's kind of something I'd always wanted to do. She had wanted to do. And we finally had enough of the beach after about 6 years, so we moved to the bay in Destin. I lived in a place called Seagrove Beach, which is halfway between Panama City and Destin. But to get her off the beach and to get her and I off the beach, we had to find a place that she really, really liked. So she found a place in a gated subdivision on Choctaw Bay, which is in Destin. And she really enjoys it. You know, we got 4 grandchildren now. Ron's got 2, one named Bobby Bowden and one named T, after T. Martin. My daughter-in-law went to Tennessee and graduated from Tennessee. And so since T. Martin was the quarterback that beat my father for the Florida National Championship, she decided to rub it in and name one of her grandsons T. And then my daughter, Lauren, lives in Mobile. Both of them lived about 10 years. And she has 2 grandchildren. Or she has 2 children, one named Easton. My son-in-law played baseball, so Easton makes baseball equipment. And one named Bowden, after my nephew that got killed when I was at Clemson. He got killed in a car wreck, so she named him after my nephew Bowden. So, but I got 4 grandkids. My wife loves grandkids. I like grandkids. There's a difference between liking them and loving them. She kind of lives for them. But I appreciate you asking. Both my children are doing well. Ryan lives in Atlanta, Lauren in Mobile, and grandkids. Stay busy with them. My parents are, you know, in their 80s. My father's 89, another 86. They're in good health, and in-laws are in their 80s. So family's doing well.
And I have some mutual friends with Ryan who went to school with him, and they say that he remains a very avid Clemson fan, goes to a number of Clemson games. Oh, man.
Geez, yes. He goes to as many games as Jeff and Brad Scott can get him tickets for. It's very good. You know, the tickets now are so hard to daggone get, especially the games, you know, the bigger games are hard to get. So, yeah, he goes to see him in Tallahassee. He'll see him in Atlanta when they play Georgia Tech. He drives to Clemson. So my daughter's further away in Mobile. It's just harder for her to get to him, but she's been to a couple of Clemson games. Both of my children graduated from Clemson, and both of them doing well. I'm really pleased with the education that they got from Clemson in the public schools there in the Clemson area. So they're doing well. But Ryan, yeah, he stayed really active. Bob Cruton, he knows more about their recruiting and all that stuff. He's like a fanatic.
You were a man of routines when you were the coach here, and I'm assuming that's the same. What is your daily routine nowadays?
Routine is get up and I work out, do my Bible reading in the morning like I did at Clemson, get that done and out of the way so I can hopefully get started on the right path and treat people right. And then I have a little breakfast and I work out. You know, I don't jog as much. I do an elliptical, and then I'll ride my bike, and then I work on some kind of core video. So I do a workout really 3 times a day, 45 minutes a week. Ride the bike for an hour, you know, the bike out on the road bike, and then I do some kind of video, and then I'll go on the boat. I live here on the bay, or go on the kayak, or do something, you know. If I'm not driving Tallahassee, see my parents, or driving over Mobile, or driving up to see Ryan and see Ryan, but I still do good speaking. Most of it's faith-based. Some of it's leadership motivation, but most of it's faith-based. Father and I went to Oklahoma City a couple of weeks ago, speaking about 2,500 men. Then I spoke to the Florida sports commissioners here a week ago. Then I've been to Birmingham, Richmond, Texas, you know, all over. Memphis last week speaking. So that's kind of my day. If I'm not speaking, I'm here at the house.
What was the television thing like? You did that for a long time, I guess, flying up on Friday nights and then hanging out in studio on Saturdays.
I really enjoyed it. You know, it kept you close to the game. You got to watch, you know, different coaches and different programs and different offenses and defenses. And, you know, we were all ACC, so, and it was a live show. So, during the game we'd come in before the ACC game of the week. So, but during the pregame and halftime, we'd have a split screen. We'd probably have about 4 ACC games going on at one time, then come on at halftime. But The bad thing is I traveled after the game Saturday afternoon. I traveled, spent most of my time in the airport on a plane, so I missed some good Saturday night, late Saturday afternoon football around the country. I would miss getting in about 10 or 11 o'clock at night on Saturday night. But I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was good to work for First Class Operation. Jimmy Rayburn, Rob Rockley, the people up there at the studio, and I had some great co-hosts. Because I didn't, TV, I enjoy it, but somebody's got to daggone lead the daggone questions and direction of the show and all that while it's on your live and on air. But I did one in Fox for Atlanta for about 5 or 6 years with Jim Bates, and really enjoyed that. James Bates, and that was fun too. I enjoyed TV because it kept you close to sports. And then I had been coaching for 32 years, so it's good not to kept me from making a total break from the game I spent a lot of time with.
Do you miss coaching?
What's that?
Do you miss coaching?
I had it a long time when I got into coaching. There was 2 guys, Larry, and I may or may not have mentioned this to you, named Darrell Royal. I don't know if you're familiar with that name. He was the head coach of Texas, and a guy named Frank Broyles was the head coach of Arkansas. They had gotten out of when they were 55, and I had kind of kept that in the back of my mind. And when I first went to Clemson, reporters asked me how long I'm going to be here, and I said, the 10 years. I was 44 at the time, 44, 45. And as I got close to 50, my father finally said, "You better stop saying that. It's not preaching." So, but I had thought that I might get out in my late 50s, mid 50s. I just signed a 7-year contract. The year before was 6 months before I left. So, in the back of my mind, I said, "Gosh, I'm hoping I can get maybe half of this, put me in the mid 50s, and then I'll borrow it to somebody else." But didn't work out that way. But I say that to answer your question. I was, I'd always thought that I would be out about that time. I plan on going out a little more successful than I was, but you don't always get that choice. But I might have coached a couple more years, but I didn't. I had talked to some people about other jobs in the SEC and in the Big 12 and some non-power 5 schools, head coaching jobs, but just wasn't, same spark wasn't there.
What do you miss least about it?
Least losing. I didn't like losing. But I really, a lot of people don't, a lot of coaches don't like dealing with media. I didn't mind the media, enjoyed the media. A lot of people didn't like the recruiting and going in homes, and I enjoyed the recruiting, preparation, players, coaches. I didn't bother, we had, I think they've limited most of those IPTAY meetings. I did about 23, somewhere between 22, 24 IPTAY meetings. I didn't mind those unless you lost South Carolina, lost your bowl game. I didn't mind not let you get South Carolina like we did most of the time, so I always made those IPTAY meetings a bit better. But probably the least about the game.
There's a ridiculous amount of money being made by coaches nowadays, but there's also, I guess, a ridiculous amount of pressure in return. You saw Bob Stoops abruptly hang it up a couple of years ago. Is there, I guess, a pleasure of of just living, of enjoying life, and not having to deal with a lot of that stuff?
Oh yeah, because you mean for a guy like Stoops or myself?
Well, I'm just saying some people, like you said you had planned to hang it up at 55. I'm not sure how old Bob was when he hung it up, but
he was about 55. And one thing, Larry, you mentioned that, and you mentioned the money aspect. I think you need to see a lot more guys like Bob Stoops, who's accumulated so much wealth, and he's got his health, and he's enjoyed success, and because the money that you can get, your children, your grandchildren, college educations, and a comfortable lifestyle, you can be able to do that at a younger age. And I think you'll see more Bob Stoops. I don't know how long Dabo. How old is Dabo?
He's 49, if I'm not mistaken.
49. Okay, it wouldn't surprise me if Kennedy'd have success with another 55 or so. You know, he's going to surely accumulate enough wealth to live comfortable, his children and his grandchildren. And don't forget, you know, he was out of coaching when I hired him. So he's tasted some other things. So it wouldn't surprise me at 55 or in the mid-50s he does with Stoops. Hey, I've got money. I've got plenty of it. I've had success, national championships. Real soon, I'm sure there'll be a statue of him up there at Clemson. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him and more Bob Stoops happen in the early 50s simply because of the finances and the guys that have accumulated success are going to accumulate a lot of wealth. So I think you'll see more.
So the headline from this interview is going to be, Bowden says Dabo to retire in 6 years.
No, I don't know those answers. It wouldn't surprise me. As much as it wouldn't surprise me, I know, speaking, you know, a lot of people think that he's going to Alabama. I don't think he'll go to Alabama. And I just think that he has a tremendous amount of loyalty to Clemson because of the way Clemson went out on him, number one, to hire him, and then and number two, to keep him after, you know, he struggled that first year and they carried on and stayed with him. I think he's going to honor that loyalty, among other reasons. But I think that would be one of them because, you know, the way that he got the job with no coordinator title and no kind of established resume as an offensive or defensive coordinator. I think he will really respect. He really respect that loyalty that Clemson showed him, and I think they'll honor him by finishing his career there.
Last fall, Coach, we did a retrospective 10 years of Dabo, and a big part of that was a lot of the sort of stars that aligned and different things that fell into place for him to be in position to have that success that he has had as the head coach. And you got to start off with just the mere decisions. I say decisions, your decision to hire him and his decision to come here, because a lot of people were telling you were crazy to hire a guy who'd been out of the business for 2 years. And a lot of people were telling him he was crazy to join a program that had just, that looked like a bit of a sinking ship after losing 55-15 to Texas Tech a few months earlier. Can you reflect on that decision and bringing him to Clemson and what you remember?
Yeah. I wish I would have kept some emails that people sent me about not, you know, you could hire anybody once. You wouldn't hire a guy out of coaching. But, you know, I only interviewed two guys. I don't know if you remember. The other guy interviewed was named T.J. Weist. Both of them were walk-ons at Alabama at the same time, walk-on wide receivers. I coached them both.
Wow.
And T.J. had gone another direction, coaching him more up in the Midwest. He was a Michigan guy and had gone back there in some of those schools up in that area. He's still coaching this day. He was an interim head coach and won the bowl games in that year, too. You know? But, and then Dabo, I brought both those guys in. But the thing that's persuaded me that Dabo was, well, a couple of things. Number one was his recruiting resume. He had a really impressive resume. And the longer I stayed in the coaching, the more I said, hey, you better get you 9 guys that can recruit. Because good players can make a coach, a bad coach look good. So I said, so that was kind of a deciding factor. And the fact that I went through First Baptist Church, and I think when I was the head coach at Clemson, Tulane, I used to go to, when I coached Alabama, the church had me back there to speak, and him and Kathleen came to hear me, and they waited till after the service to talk to me and hung around. And I kind of remember that. And there's always that, you know me good enough to know that I've got a strong faith-based foundation, and the Christian part. I'm a firm believer in the providence of God and how He works things out, and I think that God has been aligning that thing for Dabo for a while, and you know, and I think that's one of the reasons that he's there.
Another one of those junctures is in the middle of his first season here. You go to Wake Forest, you're down 45-0, lose 45-17. And in the research for this interview, You told Chris Ard a few years ago during a lengthy interview that you told Jim Grobe after the game, Jim, you must be a Christian because you called the dogs off.
No, yeah, I told him that, you got a lot of time in this time. You can beat that bad and things like that. I remember one man said my team, and the conversation with the opposing team, the opposing coach is pretty short because you're immediately hitting this to the veteran to address your team and your staff, and then you got to find some way to turn it around. But yeah, I said, hey, well, one time I knew you're a Christian because you could have beat me real bad and you didn't. So thanks, buddy. And I remember that because that's I remember when I was we were playing. I forget who we were playing, but somebody did say, one of the teams you don't lose to Wake Forest. It's just one of the things that doesn't look good as a head coach is when you take, when you have more talent and you lose to a team with less talent, like you lose to Wake Forest, you've got more talent. And even though they had that one great run where they were 11-0 and just had, Riley Skinner, I think, was the freshman quarterback, they won the ACC. Even a year like that when they have everything home in place, a team like Clemson, you're going there with better players. You just can't lose games where you have better players, and that's not conducive to staying very long in this profession.
Over the 10 or so months we've been doing the Dubcast, we've developed a great relationship with the folks over at the Abernathy Boutique Hotel. In addition to being a great meeting spot for our interviews we conduct with local personalities, it's also a fantastic place to stay. The Abernathy is rolling out a loyalty savings program for 2019. After your third stay, you'll automatically be rewarded with an exclusive offer. It can be applied to future reservations for the remainder of the year. 15% off rooms, 15% off food and beverage at Taps Bar and Cafe. Learn more at theabernathy.com. Big supporter of the Clemson Dubcast is Harris Flooring America. Based in Anderson, South Carolina, Harris Flooring has been instrumental in a lot of the facilities transformation you've seen on Clemson's campus lately. From the Allen Reeves Center to the McFadden Building to Memorial Stadium to the Neary Center. Family owned and operated since 1947. The owner, Scott Junkins, big Clemson guy. Harris Flooring is just as good inside the home and the residential realm as they are with the larger scale commercial stuff. Give them a call, 864-642-6183 or online at flooringamerica-anderson.com. So the following week, everybody on the planet thinks you're going to get drilled by number 3 Florida State. And Billy DeAndre a few months ago told me that had y'all lost that game, that they would have made a change. Therefore, I think it's safe to conclude that could be the most important win in Clemson football history, just given what we're talking about with those stars aligning for Dabo. You told your team in the locker room at Wake that y'all were going to win that game, right?
Oh, yeah. I specifically remember I said, hey, we will win this game. And I don't know if I believed it. The important thing was that they believed it. That's the most important thing that I find somebody to get them to convince that we can do it. But I remember doing it. I remember Charlie Whitehurst, I think, in an article, interview after Florida State, I think, bringing that up. He said, I remember Coach Patton told us we were going to win this game. And like I said, we did. But that was critical game. Like I said, the Wake Forest game, you can't afford to lose when you're at Clemson. And then I knew after that game, I wasn't told, but I've been a father in the profession, a brother in the profession at the highest level. You can get a pretty good feel on when things aren't going well.
Dabo said that he and Kath were building their dream home at the time, and he said his builder came up to him and said, I don't really know how to say this, but I have some interested buyers of your house if things don't work out. And Dabo said, dang it, even if we get fired, I'm going to move into this house so I can finally live in it for a little while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but that's one of the things as a head coach when you go into your meeting on Sunday, first person, after church, you meet with the staff, and that's your biggest job is, man, you got to keep them from deserting, from jumping ship, because you've got to go practice and you got to meet your team later that afternoon. So the morale of your staff and the confidence of your staff and all that's all. That's one of the things as a head coach you have to make sure you can grab those guys' attention, especially after a loss like that when they're not naive and they hear what's going on or reading the newspapers and their wives are hearing, stuff in the grocery store and reading the paper and the internet and all that stuff. So yeah, you got a pretty good challenge as a head coach when you lose a game like that on getting number one. You got to get your coach's attention. You got to get them refocused. Then you got to get your team refocused.
Can I get your recollections of the CJ Spiller recruitment? I'm not sure many people, or I'm not sure everybody realizes just how much flack Dabo probably caught from people on his own staff for the audacity to think that Clemson, little old Clemson, could go into Florida and nab the most highly rated prospect in the state. So y'all were taking one running back that in that 06 class. Y'all also had Terry Grant and Marcus Sims interested. Can you take me back to that time?
Yeah, I just remember for some reason we looked like we were the leading for Marcus Sims and for Terry Grant. Burton Burns, I think, recruiting Grant over might have been from Hattiesburg or somewhere in Meridian or Hattiesburg, one of those two places up there. But anyway, we were actually leading. Dabo felt like we had a really good chance to get Spiller. And, but Dabo also saw we had a good chance to get Tebow. So, you gotta say, well, gosh, sometimes Dabo's such a positive guy and such a good recruiter, but, you're not going to get all three of them. Which one of them commits? If we would have taken Terry Grant's commitment, we would have never gotten out of this. Vice versa, had we taken Marcus Sims, I don't think we would have gotten. So as a head coach, you got to say, "God, what are we going to do? I can only take one, and because I'm going to lose the other two. And which one do you take? You got them rated. CJ's number one, and say 2 with Sims and 3 with Grant. And gosh, you don't want to take that third commitment, third guy, and knock yourself out. You might get 1 or 2. So that's as a head coach, that's the only you're the only one that can make the decision. Do you drop the other guys and put all your eggs in one basket? And we, just decided to do that. And I remember going in for the official visit. And I would say, he's going to tell you that he's coming. And boy, his mother was there, and I'll go in there and aunts, uncles, and kids, and everybody, girlfriend. We left after about 2-hour home meeting. As we're walking out the door, I pulled that offside. I said, he didn't say anything to me. He's coming to Clemson. So I said, geez. But Dabo went over and talked to him, and he just wanted to make sure his mother knew first. But I just remember, we had some other really talented running backs, and man, you say, gosh, if I drop these guys now, we might not get any of them. But that's why you pay the most of the money as the head coach to make those decisions. It ended up that he was. The Dabo, that he stayed with his commitment to Dabo, and ended up, of course, coming our way.
And then a few days later, as CJ told me last fall, you and Coach Burns were about to get on a plane, I think, to see Terry Grant in Mississippi, and you called Spiller. And I think Terry was getting ready to make his commitment, and you said, "Listen, CJ, are you coming to Clemson?" And as CJ tells it, he says he told you, "Coach, do not get on that plane. I'm coming to Clemson." And you said, "Okay." Is that how you remember it?
No, I remember that he was really positive, but he would not say it. I think he's a man of his word. He told his mother he's going to tell her first. He was going to do it. But I said, I think I was over there recruiting. I think I was already there, and I said, "Listen." It was either one of the two. I was getting on the plane to go. I was already there and said, "Listen, he will come. He's coming to Clemson. I don't want him. I want you. Can you just give me any? Am I making the right decision?" And I don't think he said, "Coach, I'm coming." He said, "Coach, I think you're making the right decision." I think it's something like that. He said everything but. He wouldn't say it. And not that I could, but I'm 65 and he's 28 or whatever old he is. He's got a better memory. He could be more accurate, but it was touch and go to. But signed his name on that dotted line on ESPN.
I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of Burton. He's done all that work on Terry Grant and Marcus Sims, and until it actually happens, he's looking at the possibility of all that work going down the drain. Can you tell me what you were observing from Coach Burns' emotions during that time?
Well, he unfortunately, he was a little bit older guy, and he's had a lot of experience, and he knows, that's one of the hard things about recruiting, because all your 9 coaches invest years. You just don't start, most of them don't start recruiting, a couple of months before signing day. It's a year, especially nowadays, it's social media, it's a couple of year process. And he recruits the guy for a solid year, and to let him go, it hurts. But, that's why, you only have one head coach, and only one guy can make the decisions, and your coaches have to feel comfortable or confident that, hey, he's the only guy, the head coach, the only guy with a set of eyes, and looks at him 3,000 feet down. And he didn't specifically know what CJ was saying to me and to Dabo. And Bert think that Burton was a whole coach who said, hey, knows what he's doing. But yeah, there's a sense of disappointment. You can see it, sense that they put in so much work trying to get him, and all of a sudden he's thinking to himself, well, what if CJ didn't come? And I'm there for this guy. That's just the way the game's played. But he was a much mature guy to handle it well.
I guess over about a year period from 2006 to 2007, Dabo was courted by Nick Saban. Obviously, Burton went to Alabama.
Yeah.
Dabo turned him down. They were going to, I guess, double his salary to go back to his alma mater. He also, I think around that same time, before Saban got there, Rich Rodriguez was going to go to Alabama, and Dabo was going to go with him. And then I forgot the precise date of this, but Dabo was also very much interested in the UAB head coaching job. Can you maybe give your recollections of those 3?
One of the jobs that he might have been involved with UAB. The only one of the ones he approached me on was Southern. He approached me on Alabama. The first time was a little bit easier, I think, for Rich, if Rich would have gotten the job. The next time with Burton was real hard because, at that time, now Alabama, Clemson plays more in Alabama. At that time, Alabama played for Clemson. And they tried to get Burton one time, and I helped him off for a couple of years. The next time, they just offered so much money, I couldn't match it. And then with Dabo, the second time with Dabo, they offered more money, but I came up with a title, and because, a lot of guys, assistant coaches, and they're probably accurate. They say, if I don't have a title, I'm never going to get a head coaching job. And they didn't really count recruiting coordinator, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or assistant head coach. Brad had that title. So I said, well, let me make you associate head coach. So that I gave him the title and less money, but stayed. But I remember one job he came to me about was offensive coordinator at Southern Miss. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And his name might have been thrown around with UAB job, but the only other job that he seriously considered, I thought, was that often he wanted to be a coordinator, really, really bad, and it was the offensive coordinator's job at Southern Miss. And I think I told him at the time that, offensive coordinator at Southern Miss nowadays is leaving to be the wide receiver coach at Clemson. It's not the other way around. Guys at Southern Miss are looking to come to Clemson. But he was, he knew and kind of felt like he needed to be a coordinator, have a coordinator title, preferably offensive or defensive coordinator, to get a head coaching job at a place like Clemson. And so I remember Alabama was talking with Nick Call, and I just didn't I didn't have the money.
So December of 2007, y'all had suffered an excruciating home loss to Boston College with the Atlantic Division on the line, but then gone to South Carolina and pulled one out in Columbia. Arkansas comes calling, and I think as Dabo tells it, he was in Myrtle Beach for maybe the North-South game, and you called him and maybe the other coaches as well and said, get off the road. It's looking like we might be going to Arkansas. So it was really serious. What's your recollection of that, those days?
Yeah, I really wanted to stay at Clemson, and I just didn't get the same vibe from the administration. And I was doing everything, I thought, to give them opportunities to stay, but it seems like every time I would talk to Terry Don, that the things I felt I needed to comfortably to be comfortably at Clemson, they just do not feel comfortable giving me. And then Jeff Long, the AD at Arkansas, I had coached him at Duke, and then I said, "Listen, you need to call Terry Don and let him know we're going to be in discussions." And Terry Don had a problem with it. I remember I went to see Terry Don one night, and he had said that Tommy Unlin, and you do what's best for you. And having a father and brother in the profession that talk with presidents and ADs, that's usually a sign that, hey, you need to do what's best for you and head on out. And I didn't want to do that. So, but anyway, I met with Jeff in Florida after the season, and then he flew into Clemson on the school play. He flew into East and left didn't make the Arkansas thing. Clemson left it up there, 30 miles away or something, and drove down. We met at my house, and so I called Tim and told him that looks like be ready to make a press conference, and told my wife to buy a red dress and call the coaches off the road, and then, but the next morning, then I guess Clemson felt like there are some things that they could come up with that they hadn't in the past. Because I told Tim that I told Jeff, I said I want to meet with Frank Broyles first, and then I need to meet with the team. And the plan was there to take me on Monday morning, and then Terry Don called and said, "Hey, this will happen." So we nixed it, and Jeff got on the plane, went down the line, picked up Petrino, and it's history.
What's your understanding for what caused the administration to sort of turn to go from saying, yeah, you feel free to talk to them to giving you what you thought you needed? Well,
I know you've probably never been in those negotiations, but off the top of your head, what do you think the reason was?
Well, my recollection is there was actually kind of an outcry from fans and supporters who felt like the recruiting momentum was pointed up, and they didn't want to lose, that, I guess, promise for the next few years.
Yeah, you both had a better feel of that view than I would. That's where Tim Gray was always good with me. He'd say, "Tommy, the fans feel me." He always gave me an outside sense of what was going on, and you would have that sense. If I'm not mistaken, Larry, and I don't know why I want to say this, but if ESPN, I think we ended up Alabama, Miami, and Clemson were 1, 2, and 3 in recruiting. I think at the end of the year or toward, we had signed Daquan Byers. Some people said it was no more player. Other people said Julio Jones, Alabama signed. And I think we ended up, I want to say the second. I think it was Alabama, us, and Miami. ESPN, top recruiting class in the country. Would you know what that was that year?
I don't, off the top of my head.
I think it was second. But so what you're saying, and I say that to say what you're saying is probably accurate. We were having a really good recruiting year, and we had about we had won 9 games the year before, second recruiting in the nation. We had a lot of players coming back. And of course, we started out with West Alabama, but I think the fans might have sensed that momentum. Hey, we won 9 wins. We beat South Carolina 7 out of 9, beating Florida State 4 out of the last 5. It looks like we might be getting this thing turned around. 6 months away from heading to a new facility, I think at that time. So I think for the recruiting class, I think about second in the nation, 6 months away from a brand new $50-something million building, won 9 games. I think that is the momentum you might have been sensing from other people to say, hey, let's see if we can stay with him, see if we can get us over the hump. And then I started out support at this point. So that was probably maybe the reason they changed. I don't know. I wasn't Terry Dunn. I'm sure talked to the board of trustees, and they made a decision for reasons only known to them. I'm not sure. Might have came, because there were some. We were real far apart. Because once you start talking to another school, you really destroy your relationship with the school that you're at. So if you start meeting with them, you better be planning on going. And that was kind of my intention. I had met with him 3 times, and I just felt like, well, we're not getting anywhere. It looks like the writing's on the wall. I need to look. So that's why I was meeting with him, and everything was, because we were so far apart. Then Jeff was on the way. He called me and to drive down. He was going to be 8 o'clock with the contract, be on the plane there. And I called Terry Don and said, yes, on the way for the contract. And he called me back. He said, hey, okay, this. So.
And you were going to take Dabo with you, correct?
Oh yeah. He wouldn't have got, he wouldn't have got jobs. I don't think they would. I don't think you and I have better feel that. At that time, I don't think they might have. But I go, yeah, I would take it and had him. And like I said, I don't know if they would give him the job there or not.
Well, I'll never forget, after your extension was announced in the McFadden Auditorium, I was talking to Terry Don after the press conference, and I was asking him some hypotheticals, like what he was thinking, what he would have done had you left, and he said that he would have considered someone on the staff. And really bad mistake on my part as a reporter. I didn't ask him who. I just assumed it was Vic Koenig or Brad Scott, since they had previous head coaching experience. But as it turned out, it was Dabo. But he would not have had the audition time, because as it turned out, the final half of the 08 season was how he got the job. He would not have had that opportunity in December of 07.
But had I stayed to the end of the year, which I had an option to do, he didn't say it, but he told me he was going to make a decision that he was going to make a change at the end of the year. He said, I'm not going to make a change at the end of the year. But not everybody, you got to do what you think is right. And my thinking is, if the president trustees has confidence in me, and I am the vote for it, if I'm the reason that we can't get this fixed, then to me, I need to step to the side. The longer I stay, the longer I impede the progress that needs to be done. So that's why I decided why I did, and told Terry Don. He didn't ask me. I don't think. Yeah, he didn't ask me who I'd recommend. I said, and I knew I had Vic and Brad who were fully capable of getting the team. Even at 16, if they had kids before, they put them in on their coach for 6 weeks. But I felt like Dabo, I really did. As I talked to Terry Don that morning, I really just felt like he had all the intangibles. I've been around my brother Terry, and been a coach. I've been around my father, and kind of been around, mainly behind the scenes, pretty successful head coaches and pretty good schools. And I really felt like Dabo had a lot of those intangibles that it takes to be a coach. And had I stayed, I don't think he would have had that chance. I can't say that for sure, Dabo. Terry Don will tell you. But usually what happens is the coach says the whole time, make sure they don't make somebody off the staff. But I think the fact that he was given that little six-week time to show some things to the administration was really beneficial for him, and he showed to the advantage of it.
10 months after the extension, after I guess Terry Don said y'all were connected at the hip.
I remember that kind of good last
You're in his office at 6:15 on a Monday morning.
No, he's in mine.
I'm sorry, he's in yours. I apologize. I guess
I was doing the father reading.
Yeah,
I usually do it.
I guess
he came down to it.
I guess that became his office later after they moved to the West End Zone. But
yeah.
And he basically, and as he told me, I guess a few years ago, the Board of Trustees wanted some sort of public statement after the way the season had turned sour, after the loss of to Wake Forest, basically acknowledging that, hey, if we don't win the division, then we're going to make a change at the end of the year. We are disappointed, blah, 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 blah. Is that the gist that he basically told you that?
He didn't tell me all that, what you just said. But I know how works with the AD answering to the president of the trustees. I assumed all that. He didn't go into that much detail, but it's that I think if I didn't win the conference, division or whatever it was, that he was going to make a change in the end of the year. And I can imagine what all you just said was how this person at him to present today. He didn't tear it under himself or wants me to just take me statement and all this. He didn't done all that. We'll make a change in the year. I think don't on the top of your thing.
You told Chris years ago, I forgot when this was, maybe 2010, 2011, when he sat down with you at your home. The hurt stays with me of not getting to the championship game. Does that remain true even today?
Oh, yeah. That's the objective. Everybody dreams, every coach dreams about a dream. Dream big, you win the ACC and national championship and all that. I had the same dreams and goals, ambitions. And Clemson's just such a great place to coach. But there's great fans, the history, they support you, the football support you, everything the head coach was doing. The reason that was one of my first stuff I doing the SEC, and that was an SEC type environment in the ACC at that time, and there wasn't a bunch of SEC environments in the ACC. So the biggest discipline, there's so many fans, there's so many good fans there, and people put confidence in you, and you don't get it done. Bobby Robinson hired me, just the disappointment of letting those people down that you couldn't get the job done. That's the biggest disappointment, and the thing that stays with you is that I wanted to do what Dabo was doing, but not everybody gets to do that.
How much is different if Aaron Kelly catches that ball against Boston College in 2007?
Yeah, I'm sure there are several plays. There were several plays in the Maryland game. I had to beat them, but the year before I had that. I remember they were too deep. He slipped him on the outside and safety to get off the hash. Cullen Harper, I think, was quarterback. Made a beautiful throw, but Aaron, I know if he made so many great catches, critical catches in the point of his career. But that's one that you wish you could have. The guys surely made a bunch of them that were really, really, really good. But that was a critical point in time in that game.
You said a minute ago you would like to be, of course, you would like to have experienced the same success that Dabo is now. You mentioned on a number of occasions, well, we couldn't afford this assistant or to match this or that. That would never happen now. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, nobody's going to outspend Clemson for, say, Brent Venables or whoever they really value. There's also the facility spending in the ACC from 99 to 04 that Clemson was last in the ACC. There's also alignment that they talk about now from the head coach to the AD to the president to the board of trustees is just extraordinary in the harmony up and down the chain of command. All three of those sort of elements were totally different for most of your tenure. How much do you think back to those elements, not just on the field stuff, but the infrastructure and the things that lead to winning football games when you look back at your career?
They weren't probably as bad maybe as what people thought. I really I didn't think a bad relationship with Terry Don or the administration or the board. I think they gave me as many resources I had. A decision that either Terry Don made or the board made that had nothing to do with me losing Wake Forest.
Right, right.
So that's how I always looked at it from a coaching standpoint. Miami, all the time they were winning national championships down there. Had terrible facilities with Jimmy Johnson and Dennis Erickson, but they still won. So I really didn't look at any of those things. Yes, my second year there, after we won 9 games, I asked Father Robson if I could address the board of trustees about the need for facilities. I said, I really think and I remember telling the board that's what I think is what we need to get us over the hump. But it was like a 9-year process to get that building done. Gosh, I can remember talking at team meetings and talking about a museum, Clemson facility, where they had a mock run down the hill with fans. The things they have now, I can remember talking about those things, but they take time. But I don't think any of those things, even not, a lot of people lose coaches. And at that time, we just didn't have the money. I think anytime I talk to Terry Don about staff salaries, I remember trying to get where we were in relationship to ACC, and we were always right in the middle of the pack. We were always about 6. If there were 12 teams, we were 6. If there was 8. But I'm going to go talk to him. I try to get my P's and Q's lined up, my statistics lined up on where we were in relationship to the rest of the conference. But I don't think that had anything to do with me losing to Wake Forest or Boston College or to Maryland, for that matter. Those were things that eventually work out. They didn't have anything to do with me not winning those games.
It seems like back in that era, and even extending into Dabo's first few years as head coach, Terry Don and CFO Katie Hill, by their own admission, they were more into saving. I guess the economy was different back then, but even Dabo, when he was head coach, he and Katie would go back and forth over spending stuff. And so, it's interesting. You wonder what was it that caused them to go all in, the way they are now on staff salaries, paying Chad Morris what they did after his first year and the facilities push. I mean, it's not like they were winning national championships and then they got serious about facilities and salaries. Something happened to cause them to be a lot more committed than they were previously.
Well, they were, Terry Don and Dabo were really, really tied at the hip. They were really tied at the hip. He hired me. He didn't hire me. And, so there was a little bit of a difference there, a sense of urgency, because that decision reflected directly back on him. And as it looks at now, he's surely a prophet and a great decision maker of making the decision on me and on Dabo, because both of those turned out to be the right decision.
Very true.
But he is, like I said, truly connected to him. He hired him, and he went out on a limb that first year. In the first year, didn't they finish 6 and 7? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, the first full season they won the division, and then the 2010, his second full season, was when they went 6 and 7.
Okay, yeah, they went 6 and 7. Okay, yeah, they went 6 and 7. Lost to Skip Holtz.
Yep.
Was that South Florida? And that was the year that he said, "Hey, I would imagine Terry Don's thinking, hey, I went to bat for this guy. I'm going to get him what he needs." And that's the Chad Morris money, and some of the other money started to become available. And that I think, but that's the reason why, because you hired one guy.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And I remember during that 2010 season when things were going sour, Terry Don told me, he said, "Larry, I told Dabo, if things don't work out, I'll help you pack up your office and you can help me pack up mine."
Yeah. Well, that's usually what happens when you make this decision. But he made the right one, and he showed some great foresight there. But I think he saw some things, Dabo, that I saw. I sure didn't know he'd had this much success. But in talking to Terry Don that morning, Monday morning, and going through some intangibles I thought he had, I think Terry Don saw the same things. Obviously felt strong enough when he went 6 and 7 to stand on the table for him to stand behind him. And that was his only option.
If you run a business that conducts credit card transactions with customers, You got to learn about Tandem Payment. Credit card processing company has offices throughout the Southeast, but the one in Greenville in the upstate, headed up by a 2005 Clemson grad. Tandem's technology allows business owners to offset their credit card processing costs by applying a small customer service charge to each sale they make. Tandem has an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and was awarded the Better Business Integrity Award in 2013. Check them out at tandempayment.com. Quick word about Uptown Realty LLC, headed up by Patrick Enzer, former sports writer who decided to get into the real estate game. Uptown Realty, locally owned and operated out of Sumter, but they serve the Eastern Midlands and PD area with the buying and selling of homes, commercial properties, and land. They also offer affordable new housing in the mid-130,000s from a local custom builder. Patrick is the sole owner and broker in charge. Grew up in Anderson, going to Clemson games, been in Sumter for 15 years, loyal Tiger Illustrated subscriber, loyal Dubcast listener. Website is uptownrealtysc.com. Had you noticed when you were still there that Terry Don had sort of taken a liking to Dabo and taken a particular interest in those things you're talking about?
No. I just remember I called Dabo one time. There was a position that we were having some I don't want to say difficulty.
The AARC.
Difficulty. Yeah, the AARC at the school. And I had to put somebody on there that was going to be dealing with upper level administration, chancellor. I forget her name at the time, but in dealing with high level academic people. And I chose Dabo. I will call Dabo. I said, listen, I think he's going to help you. I'm not going to be forever. And I put you in a position to meet some people that will be beneficial to you later. And I gave him some suggestions on how to handle it. But I think that kind of helped him show his ability to some of the board trustees that got back to the president, got back to the board, through his dealings with his meetings, how he handled himself to represent the athletic department, and pushed for things we wanted in football. I think that helped him. And I think that they carried on some confidence that he might be able to do it.
What has he shown in the building and the making of a total powerhouse, shown you maybe that you didn't know he had, or something that a part of his leadership, I don't want to say a surprise, but something you weren't aware of in the building of what he had?
I think the only thing that's really surprising, I don't know if I'm really that surprised. I'm surprised that they've won so much, but, hiring the big coach, because I knew he's a good recruiter. He's recruited well, but you can screw up good players. You can put them in a bad position. You can put a defensive tackle where you can't make plays. You can put wide receivers on offense where they don't use it, so just because you hire good players doesn't mean you're going to win. So he has shown a couple things. The ability, he really wasn't a play caller, never been a play caller, putting off and stuff like Chad Morris. But the ability, when he let a good guy go like Billy Maker, he's a good coach, great recruiter, when he made that decision to let him go and bring in Chad Morris, that showed me something that traditionally, you have to see that he's got the ability to hire people you really like Billy Napier. And Brent Venables hired, didn't surprise me. So I tried to talk to him one time about hiring Brent Venables. But I think the ability to manage coaches you never know. And he's not recruiting. I thought he'd get along with the media. I thought he'd get along with boosters, with the board. But I think the two things that I think he really stepped up was the ability to handle coaches and then make tough decisions.
Did you say you tried to hire Venables at one point?
Yeah, I don't know if I returned my call.
When was this?
Yeah, in fact, Larry, we were getting turnovers one time on defense. So I started calling guys. I wanted to visit. You call them head coaches that obviously, but they're getting a lot of turnover. They call Bob Steve. So listen, I want to come out there and visit you. And I took some defensive coaches out there, and then we flew out to Oklahoma. And as my coaches were talking to their coaches, I went and talked to students about 2 hours, and they're getting ready to practice. I said, listen, I like this here. And so, being an offensive guy, he thought of a quarterback meeting, receiver meeting. He said, yeah, where would you like to go? I said, why don't you got somebody? Let me see his name. So I just wanted. So I sat in his meeting, just kind of scoping him out. I said, "Anybody remember sitting in the back of the meeting room and why I sat in linebacker meeting?" But yeah, and then I always kind of had my eye on him, and but it didn't work out.
Would this have been when you were replacing Lovett when you called him?
It might have been before Lovett or after. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when I flew out there to visit. I'm not sure the day.
I mean, we've spent the last quite a while talking about all of Dabo's success. Obviously, you're happy for him. You're happy for Clemson. But how conflicting is it knowing? I mean, you spent a decade here trying to do the same thing.
I was completely, like I said, I think that's at this point that I mentioned earlier. 10 years is enough time to win a championship. Championship game. I was surely given ample time, and I can see the frustrations of the administration. So that was my disappointment, is the fact I didn't achieve success. But it's not to the point where I stay awake at night, have flashbacks or anything. So many, I just, that's just part of the profession. I'd love to have, like I said, done what he did, but I didn't get that. That wasn't dealt me for some reason, and you got nobody to look at. It's the head coach. When you got the head coach, you're the guy that the reason that you don't have success. And even though you mentioned some things, we might not have had a salary, might have other facilities, so time you invested in the 9 years getting it done, and they down uphill with the ARC and some academic stuff. That's to me, those aren't excuses not to have the type of success that we should have had. I look at it with my inefficiency than other things that may or may not have made a difference.
Tommy, your brother Terry has been here since I think like February, March, and now he's on the staff as an intern in graduate school. What's your insight into? Is he just coming here to sort of soak up some knowledge?
I'm not sure of the exact final thing. I know Dabo hasn't released anything, and I'm not sure on what's going to eventually happen. But I do know this, Larry, that if a coach, in the 60s like Terry is, or even a guy like yourself, so if you wanted to go into coaching and college coaching, and you could spend a year at a program, where would you want to go? Well, right now, Clemson is the most successful program in college football. Dabo's the top coach in college football. The program, the best facilities. They do it the right. Not that other schools don't do it wrong, but they do it. They do it in a way that's not been challenged. So for Terry to have that opportunity, if it materializes where he's going to be there for a year, I haven't heard anything official. But what a great place to kind of recycle yourself and learn from the best. Dabo right now is the best. Back in the 90s, it would have been Bobby Bowden. Florida, Urban Meyer's run at Florida would have been Urban Meyer. 5 years ago, it would have been Nick Saban. Now it's Dabo Swinney. That's pretty good company. But for Terry to have that opportunity to go, it's a great opportunity. I'm sure he'll benefit from it immensely.
Can you take me to your chair on January 7th, this past January 7th? I want to know what you're thinking going into the national championship game. And just as an observer of college football, over the next 3 hours, what is going through your mind as Clemson dissects a team that was called by some as the best in college football history?
I was amazed like most people because if Nick Saban's going to lose, he doesn't lose it. He usually doesn't get killed. Now, Clemson has shown they had scored points and moved the football. But with a true freshman quarterback and a game like that, you don't know those guys. The only thing is a mistake or two. Guy trying to do too much or trying to put too much on his own shoulders to have a 10-point loss or a 2-touchdown loss in a game like that with a team like Alabama. But yeah, just totally, like most of the sports, was shocked at the margin of victory. Not so much that they won. I thought it was going to be a close game. I personally I thought Alabama might win by a field goal late, simply because of an inexperienced quarterback versus an experienced quarterback. That's worth 3 points in a game where two good coaches, two talented people. That could be the difference. And but it was nothing like what I thought it would be. It's shocked the college world, and right now Clemson is the top of college football because of Dabo Swinney.
How much of a reckoning is this for Nick Saban as he tries to contend with this moving forward?
A guy like him is just going to make him. But I feel sorry for his staff. They work 26 hours a day instead of 24. He's an old guy. He'll put his nose to the grindstone, go back to work, and try to evaluate his system and see where he might have made a difference. But sometimes if he's wise enough to know that the game's long enough, sometimes it just wasn't meant to be, and that's the way the cards were dealt for that team. And he probably, he says, hey, we're not that far off. We're not that bad. We didn't do anything that much different. We're prepared the same way. We had similar players. We made similar decisions during the game, pregame, halftime, during the game. And it just wasn't meant to be. I think he's going to go back and do a critical evaluation of his program, but he's going to realize, hey, it's just one of the days. I'm not that far off. Let's don't tear the whole thing down. Start from the ground up.
Is this going to stop anytime soon? Alabama, Clemson. Is there?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You got leadership like that at the top, and an administration that understands what's needed. But both those administrations understand the importance of football. And either head coach could change any of that academic administration. They wanted to, they wanted to make changes for the president, for chancellor, whoever. They made sure to promote it. Not that either one of them would, but I think both administrations understand the importance of what those guys are doing. They're going to put the monies and facilities to do it. And I don't think it'll be a while before. I don't know who the third team is, but right now there's two teams. And right now there's 1 and 2. Clemson and Alabama, but they're kind of hand in hand. They're kissing cousins right now. But it could go on for a while, a little bit longer. Clemson because Dabo's young.
Does this feel like Florida State in the 90s in the ACC?
Definitely in the ACC. Oh yeah, Florida State, when I went there in '99, had major separation between the rest of the league. Clemson there's major separation. I don't know who 2 is, but whoever 2 is, they're way behind.
We talked about the ACC network earlier. How hard does that make it when you're trying to sell a channel and bring in those revenues when it's basically one team and a massive canyon of a gap between that team and everybody else?
Well, if the one team is Clemson, then you're all right because they're winning the national championship and playing for it. So, if long as one of your teams now, they were just a contender, a winner of the conference and not getting very far in the playoffs, not getting in the playoffs, it'd be different. But when your one crown bearer is Clemson, then you're all right. They'll take the league. They'll take whatever comes with the league to get them. And but I think the other ones everybody else got a little ways to go to catch them.
What's your take on Florida State right now?
I don't know, man. They got a ways to go. I don't know. I like that attack to the way he treated my father and the way he kept him actively involved. But they have some issues. But he had some issues in South Florida, and he made some changes with his staff, I think, coordinators. And, and he had success. So he needs to see if he does that here. He did it with Kendall Briles offensively. He didn't do it defensively. I don't know if he needed it defensively, but they got to get a lot better. And they're not going to be very patient people because Jimbo won 10 games every year but one. My father had 14 10-win seasons, so 10's the standard. Getting it quickly get to 10, then I think it'll be an issue.
Tommy Bowden, I asked you for 30 minutes. You gave me double that, so really, really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation, great catching up with you.
Hey, we'll do it again another 10 years.
I'll put it on the calendar.
Hey, I appreciate it, Larry.
All right, thanks to Coach Bowden. Been too long. Need to do a better job of keeping in touch with him. But he was very eager and gracious with his time. Texted him, I think it was Tuesday morning. And he said, okay, how about today, 1 o'clock? So we got it done. Really appreciate that. Appreciate the support of our sponsors. Title sponsor, Parham Smith & Arch & Holt Law Firm. Also, Tandem Payment, Harris Flooring America in Anderson, Uptown Realty, LLC, down in the Sumter area, PD, Eastern Midlands, our friends at the Abernathy Boutique Hotel in Clemson, and our newest sponsor, Founders Federal Credit Union, Matt Gross in Clemson. Everybody have a great rest of the week and weekend. Really appreciate y'all listening. We'll be back next week. Cheers.